Hello and welcome back to All for United. And it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. I've got to get that right. It's the transfer show. We normally do this on a Monday, don't we, Hader? But because I've been in the process of moving at the moment, I've had no internet connection. So we're on Tuesday this week. But that's all right because it's given us a bit more time to gather a bit more transfer news and a bit more information about the players that we've been linked with. I'm delighted to say today, for the first time, I'm joined by Mary from, well, you tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel, Mary.
She Devils United. We were previously Ladies United and Red Chap, but there's another channel with a similar name, so we changed to She Devils United, all-female Manchester United fan channel. We've only started about 6 weeks ago, and we've got 1K subs, so we're growing and growing, so head over there after this and give us a subscribe if you're not already subscribed.
No, brilliant. Yeah, I've got to say, Mary, I've been really impressed with some of the content on your channel and especially transfer related. So it's great to have you on today. So thanks for joining us. And I'm also joined by Hader today, my usual guest. How you doing, buddy? Have you had a good weekend?
Yeah, mate, been nice. Just, obviously doing a lot of work on my own podcast as well. So, yeah, all going well and looking forward to today's show as usual.
Awesome. And we will hopefully be joined by Reese, who is an All for United contributor, in a little while. He's just having a few connection issues at the moment, but he will be jumping on later to give his opinion on all things United transfers. So, guys, we are live, like I say, so do feel free to get involved in the comments. Gainer's already said here, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Gainer. It's great to have you watching. We hope you enjoy the show. So, yeah, like I say, we're live. Give the video a like. Subscribe to the channel. We are getting really close to 1,000 subscribers now, so we're not far off your mark, Mary. So we'll hopefully be there soon, and yeah, keep watching for some more great content. Let's get straight into it, guys, because obviously it doesn't seem like 2 minutes ago. Sorry, this comment. Yeah, it doesn't seem like 2 minutes ago, Hader. You know, we were talking about United really up in the ante for a centre-back. Obviously, Dayot Upamecano was a name that was linked last week. There was also the stories about the bid for Badiashile. But all of a sudden over the weekend, they seem to have sort of turned their attention now to a left-back. So, first of all, before we talk about those left-back options that I'm sure a lot of people will be aware of, why do you think it is now that United have suddenly sort of changed angle and going towards this left-back signing?
Well, if you'd said that to me probably before lockdown, I would have said left back was a priority. I'm not convinced and sold on Luke Shaw. I think since the lockdown, you actually did realize, since the restart, you did realize actually what he can offer to the side. And what he was actually offering was that overlapping on that left wing, which was clearly quite integral to our play. And Rashford looked a better player. I think our attack looked better. And when he obviously got injured again, and that's probably one of the problems, that he can't keep fit, we saw Brandon Williams come in. And I'm not really a fan, you know this already, Joe, we've spoken about this a lot. I'm not a fan of a right-footed left back. And although Brandon Williams has done okay since he's come in, obviously he's still young, he's got time to develop, but our attack just looked a little bit stunted on that left-hand side. I think you saw Rashford's form dipped. I think that's also to do with the fact that, you know, the combination with Williams wasn't really working, the synergy wasn't there. So if you said to me before lockdown whether we needed a left back or a centre back, I would have said left back, because I think that's a problem where we don't have enough end product or assists coming from the left back. But you know, since lockdown, we saw that our centre back pairing isn't working either. So for me, I just really think that United, if they could, they'd buy a centre back. But the fact is that Upamecano is not available. He's going to cost too much money, or he is available. He's going to cost too much money. So I think that the left back probably is a more attainable option. So that's probably why we're going for a left back. And I do like the two options. Obviously, you'll mention them a little bit later that have been mentioned, but I'm not surprised. I expect, say, if Reguilon did come in, he'd be taking Shaw's place, because again, I'm not sold on Shaw. If you want to win the title, he's not the caliber of left back that you need at the club.
No, yeah, interesting thoughts. But Mary, I just want to come to you then and get your opinion on this. You know, the fact that United have moved to a left back, you know, prioritising that signing now, it seems, next. Does that mean for you that United won't necessarily sign a centre back this window now? Could you see that actually happening?
No, I think I do think they've moved to prioritise left back. I can't see us signing a left back and a centre back. I disagree with Hader. I think we desperately need a centre back more than a left back. You could probably make do for another season with Shaw and Williams, although we did miss Shaw and we don't have enough goals and assists from either left back or right back. Our attacking options are good enough. I think if we get an injury to Maguire or Lindelof, we're in serious trouble, because you can't trust by. And Twanzebe has been out all last season injured as well. And are we going to rely on Jones and Rojo? I think it's looking like we can't get any of our targets at centre back, and we have moved to left back. But I think it's a little bit of a mistake, really, if I'm honest.
Yeah, interesting. Reese, I think you're with us now, aren't you, mate? Welcome to the show, mate. How you doing?
Hey, bud. I'm all right, bud. How you doing?
Yeah, really good, mate. Great to have you on. I just, we've just been chatting there. I don't know if you've heard, the guys have been sort of almost like, not a debate, but obviously, Hayden's suggesting that maybe a left back is more of a priority than a centre back. Yeah. And Mary tended to sort of disagree and thought that, it's more important that we get a centre back in. Where are you on this one to have the final say on that, really? Where do you think we need a centre back more than left back, or vice versa?
Well, I would be kind of a hypocrite to say no, because I did say on the channel on Monday, I felt centre back wasn't a priority. As much as I do believe we need a centre back, I think the left back situation was a problem, and we saw it in the final stages of the season when we lost Luke Shaw, who was a big benefit to Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford's form severely dipped, and obviously he was carrying injuries. That happens. He came back from a serious back injury. Not many people expect him to come back at all, and that's no disrespect to Marcus Rashford, but nobody expected him to come back so quick. He's fortunate that COVID was a reason that he was able to come back and in good health.
Yeah.
But Luke Shaw was detrimental to that, because I don't feel he was comfortable with another right footer behind him. I think he was more balanced with a left footer, which gave him the sense. However, I would still say a centre back is a priority, considering I agree with what Mary said. Eric Bailly, I don't trust at all. I call him the walking glass for a reason.
Yeah.
I like Harry Maguire, and I like Victor Lindelof. If you ask me who my favourite is out of the two, I'm going to tell you it's Victor Lindelof.
Okay.
I like Axel Twanzebe, but his injury record is also a problem, and it's a damn shame, because he was very good in the Championship. That one season with Villa, getting to the playoff finals, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
Which also shows he's got the defensive capabilities. But I do believe we shouldn't be... Manchester City and Chelsea can get two deals done like that. If they can negotiate a left back and centre backs at the same time, then why can't we? I feel like we can get both positions filled, no problem. We should prioritise getting both done rather than just going one for the other, because we can see how slow we are at getting deals done.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about on this show before, haven't we, Ada, about the way in which we do deals, and we wish we could be more efficient. And the fact that this is dragging on, when actually all weekend it's looked like it's pretty close, but it doesn't look like it's really.
Joe, just to add to that, if Meccano is a centre back option, that's who we should be going for, 100%.
100%.
When you're looking around, Badiashile still very raw. He will be the Meccano in 2 years' time. Pau Torres, I'm not really. I think he's a good player. Positionally, he's excellent. Reads the game well, but he's another Lindelof. You need someone with pace, someone with aggression in that defensive duo. The duo doesn't work because they're too similar. They're too passive. They're too slow. Both good players in their own right, but they're not top bracket centre backs. There's one centre back out there who's attainable. Yes, it's a big outlay, but you pay more than the release clause of Upamecano. You get him this summer before the Bayern Munichs of the world, the Man Cities, everyone around Europe next year is going to be going for him. For me, I think centre back is the priority, but if you're not going to get Upamecano, I don't want us to go and spend on a centre back that's not good enough and miss out next year. So if we have the opportunity to improve our left back position, and United don't want to put the outlay on Upamecano, then buy the left back. But yeah, centre back is priority. I do agree with Mary on that.
Just out of context, Upamecano, everybody knows how much I love Upamecano. Anyone in the chat that's watching this will know, that knows me, like Twitter and all that, they know how much I love Upamecano. One person that's been coming up quite a lot recently in conversations I've been having with people is Jonathan Tah. And I would say he's another good option as well. I mean, he played 25 games in the league for Bayer Leverkusen. And in terms of stats-wise, both defensive blocks, passing, defensive clearances in the air, he actually outperformed both Diogo Upamecano and Mats Hummels, who were the top 2 ranked defenders in the league for the same position, left centre back. So what would you consider on that then?
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Tah is a name that obviously I've not heard him mentioned too much for United this year, but I mean, he's quite an up and coming young centre back, if I'm not mistaken, and I think he starred in the under-21 championships, didn't he, last summer? But I just want to sort of bring it back to this left back signing, Mary, and I'll come to you.
Yeah.
Because, you know, obviously today we want to look at the 2 options that United have been linked with, and one of those is Sergio Reguilon. I'm not quite sure on pronunciation, but I think it is Sergio Reguilon. You might be able to put me right, Mary. I hope you will. And also the other one is Alex Telles. Now, I'm not sure whether these are 2 players that you know much about, Mary, but you know, out of those 2, you know, which one do you think is probably more suited to sort of fit the profile of what United need from their left back?
I think either of them. Look, Telles is his stats. When I was looking at them, I thought I was looking at a different player. First, 13 goals and 12 assists is unbelievable for a left back. Very attacking, very quick. You know, he does take a lot of Porto set pieces. He's 27. The valuation is because he's in the final year of his contract. He probably will be cheaper than Reguilon. He's a lot more experienced as well. But then Reguilon is younger, and for me, he probably suits Oli a little bit more. But this, for me as well, Reguilon is if Real Madrid want a buyback clause, I just wouldn't go near that. I would personally go with Telles, and he's more experienced and his stats are better. But Reguilon, he did create 40 chances last season for Sevilla, which was in the top 3 of the under-23 players in La Liga, which is outstanding, and he loves crossing in the ball as well. 6 goal contributions he had last season. I mean, Luke Shaw had 8 assists in 7 years. Yeah. So, I mean, I would take either of these players. I just think Telles is a little bit more experienced. He'd be cheaper. And his goals and assists, and they wouldn't be that buyback clause. Personally, I would go with Telles, but I think Reguilon is probably a little bit more suited to Ollie's style more so.
Yeah, it's really interesting now that you touched on this buyback clause. I'm going to come to you on this, Hader. You know, that's really the big news that's been coming out today. In fact, not long before we came on air, actually, there's been some news that, you know, that this deal's all ready to go. If somehow the buyback clause can be taken out, there's talk that, you know, Real Madrid want 25 million if there's a buyback clause in there. They're willing to take it out if we maybe pay another £5 million, which for me seems like maybe worth it, to be fair, especially if that's sort of in add-ons. But, you know, how, as a fan, you know, from a fan's point of view, Hader, how much is the buyback clause that Real Madrid want inserting a bit of an issue, do you think, on this from a fan's perspective?
I'm definitely in the minority on this, because when I've been reading on Twitter and speaking to a few people, a lot of people have this issue with the buyback clause. And honestly, look, if Reguilon has a fantastic 3 or 4 years here and Real Madrid get him back for, let's say it is 30 million euros. I know that's low, but you'll know that he's contributed. You know that he would have improved the side. So for me, I know you're not making any money on him, but you've got what you wanted out of the player. I just don't think it's that big a deal. I think fans are probably getting a bit too caught up in it. From what I've seen, and a lot of pretty reliable outlets are saying that if United offer more than 25 million euros, so let's say it's 30 million euros, that buyback clause could be removed. Instead, there'll be a first refusal. That would probably be a better way forward, but I'm honestly not really that bothered about it. I just want quality in that fullback position. What we have at the moment is when you have Shaw there, and I'm not bashing Shaw because we saw his importance when he actually didn't play over the restart when he was injured. But when Wan-Bissaka's the one who's obviously the more defensive one, whose attacking, I suppose, abilities are always in question. When he's got more assists than Shaw, then there's a problem. So for me, just get some quality in there. I don't really care how it comes in. As a player of that ability at that age, look, I was massive. We've spoken about Telles before, haven't we? And you look at his assists, and one of my good friends is a Porto fan, and we spoke about him on my podcast. He said he's very much in the mold of Andy Robertson. Now, is there a better fullback than Andy Robertson? I know he's a Liverpool fan. I need to wash my Liverpool player. I need to wash my mouth out. But he is up there with the best in Europe. You can't deny that. He's explosive. He's direct. It's what you want to see from your fullbacks. And Telles is excellent at that. His I think his stats are a little bit skewed because he does take penalties and set pieces and corners. So that is something people have to look into. He said defensively he might have a few issues, but he's still good at that. His tackling numbers are still decent. So look, if you're looking at which one's better, look, they both have the pros and cons. But to not buy someone because of a buyback clause, I think it's just for me, it doesn't mean anything. Just get the player in. Even if you get 3 or 4 good years, he goes back to Real, okay, at that price. If he doesn't, he stays at United, and we've still got the player. So I don't see what the problem is.
And it's interesting that, you sort of refer to this buyback clause as a bit of a nonsensical sort of thing. And for that reason, I'll ask you, Reese, on this. Do you think it might almost be a briefing that's coming out because maybe they're not totally sold on Reguilon? Maybe Reguilon has potentially been a smokescreen for another fullback, i.e. Tellez? Because like Hader said, I mean, you wouldn't really worry about this buyback clause too much, really, would you, to be honest? I mean, should we look at the fact that the deal's stalling on this as maybe a clue that United's interested in as high as a lot of people think?
It's a certainty. That's one that we must consider. I mean, Real Madrid are heavy on buyback clauses. I mean, over the past couple of years, they've sent out the likes of Mariano Diaz to Lyon. They had a 30 million buyback clause. They activated it and they sold him. They have just sent Brahim Diaz to AC Milan on a loan to permanent with a buyback clause. So they are very insistent on these deals. I don't think it should be a problem. I mean, if, like Hader said, like spot on, if we do get Reguilon, but if we've got to go with this buyback clause, then fine. I would rather the contribution than we pay a little bit extra and then he turns out to be like somebody who does not suit the club at all. I think if we do get him and we give him this buyback clause, I say like 25 million euros, for example, so that's about 22 million pounds. We make that back. That's fine. That's fine. No problem at all. But if he's contributed towards trophies or clubs, like the club progressing and then leading to trophies, I'd be happy with that. But I also seen some conflicting reports today. I don't know if yourselves have. Obviously, Porto have just sold their young striker to Wolves. Wolves are now actually in advanced discussions with Telles's agent to sign Alex Telles. I don't know if you were aware of this. This has only been over the past half day today. Pretty much it all started this morning. If Wolves do get that sort of player, then that's a downside to us because he is so good going forward, and he is so good at defence. Like, he is quite underrated for his age. I mean, when I look at him, he does offer that mould. And Hader mentioned Andy Robertson. Also, me being Scottish, I've got to say, is like Scotland's captain, brilliant, even though he plays for Liverpool. But he does make a good point about Robertson is one of the best fullbacks in world football for his explosiveness, his directiveness, his creativity. But he also does a good job, and he was a bargain from Hull City. Getting Telles for around 30 million or whatever it's going to cost, I would gladly pay that right now, because 27, we can push Brandon Williams to right back or loan him out, which is another conflicting opinion by many fans, is should we loan him out for a year, let him get more experience?
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's another thing. I would 100% get Telles now, leave Shaw as our backup, because Shaw's injury problems is a bit of an unfortunate issue. The leg break was a severe issue. That's when it all started. But get Telles in, no problem. That's a very good left back, and he can do all the creative side. And then we can just do not Alaba. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. He's just in my head at the moment. Wan-Bissaka, have him at right back, and he can do the defensive duties. And we could is what that Barcelona team did against us in 2011. Eric Abidal was defensive and Dani Alves bombed forward. That can happen for Man United and it would work.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that, you mentioned there, obviously, this idea about Brandon Williams going out on loan. Mary, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I think the biggest loser here, if United had to sign another fullback, would probably be someone like Diogo Dalot. I mean, we've talked about it on the show before. I think if United brings someone in, I think they'll be happy to listen to offers for Dalot, but where he'll go, I don't know. I just see a bit of a merry-go-round going on here at the moment, because obviously Porto are obviously interested in Vinagre, who's a Wolves player. Wolves are interested in Telles, but then again, you could easily see someone like Dalot going back to Porto, maybe where he started out. I just think we may be going to have to wait for one deal to be done here before the rest of them get completed. What do you think?
Yeah, look, sometimes it's like the domino effect in transfers when one is done, then the rest are falling into place.
Yeah.
I personally, I would keep Brandon Williams as backup to Wan-Bissaka at right back if we were bringing in a left back. But yeah, for me, Dalot probably should go. It hasn't sadly worked out for him at Manchester United, and we could get money for him because he's still really highly rated and he's still only 21. So we get 10, 15 million for him. It could go towards Telles or Reguilon.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when you look at the team that Dalot's been linked with, most notably Barcelona, they are teams that would be willing to pay a decent fee if United commanded it. But we've sort of looked at the left back side now, and it's really interesting in the comments here tonight. I haven't managed to put them all up, but there's a real split between people who feel that we should be signing a centre back and people saying that probably left back is the more sort of important signing this summer. And it's a really interesting one. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit like the comments. I'm quite split myself. One day I sort of find myself changing my mind. I don't really know where I am.
I just had an interesting, just a thought in my head. This is to everybody, including in the chat. Would you consider, we signed Diogo Dalot for 19 million from Porto. Would you consider maybe going to Porto and saying we'd be happy to offer Dalot back and then say 20 million for Telles?
100%. That's what we should do. He's a bargaining chip, and that's the thing that United very rarely they sell their players for very cheap. We know that, and that's a problem. We're seeing that especially in the new post-COVID finances, where teams like Chelsea are thriving because they've gone and spent and sold players for nearly 500 million. If you look at United's money that's come in, even the Lukaku deal, that's on favorable credit terms to Inter. So not enough money is coming in. And this is a problem. United sell their players for too low. We know it's a wage problem as well. But when you look at Dalot, it's actually, there's genuinely a player that you could probably sell for 20 to 30 million. You can make more than what you actually bought him for. So United need to be clever. You could even push him towards, look, this is just me thinking, obviously I'm not Ed Woodward and I don't have all the power, but you could push him towards Leipzig. And Leipzig like young, talented players who they can develop. And so, look, here's Upamecano and here's some money. United need to be clever with, because they don't have a lot of money to spend, and they obviously want to put that money towards Jadon Sancho. So I 100% would be saying to Porto, look, here's Dalot and here's a bit of money. But to be honest with you, I still think United should be going for Reguilon. The fact is that the age profile for me works, and it works for Oli. Telles is a player that I really like, but at 27, there's not much sell-on value as well. So I think that's something probably to take into account.
Yeah, interesting. Jay Finesse here says that could work, offering Dalot cash for Telles. Yeah, and again, I'd not even thought about that for this show. So some great thoughts there from the guys. Someone, Taron Rex said, not happening, mate. So I don't know if he means in relation to the previous comment. But what I do want to do now is I sort of want to move on and look at the Thiago story now. Obviously, this one seems to be rumbling on and on and on, and it's still there every week, so we still have to talk about it. Mary, I've seen that on your channel. You spoke quite a lot about potential Thiago signing, and I think I might be right by saying that it's one that excites you. But the longer this goes on, do you think that there has been real interest there from United, or do you think actually all along we've just been used as a way of killing time in order for Liverpool to get the deal done?
Initially, I did think that, but then we saw Christian Falk and Fabrizio Romano say, no, actually, we're not being used. There is genuine interest. We saw build, I don't know, was it like a fake story, but apparently we had bid for him. And then Fabrizio said no, but we had spoken to his representatives. So and they are quite accurate as well. I do, they're not going to get everything spot on, but they do have really strong links there in the Bundesliga. So I do think we are genuinely in for him. I think personally the player wants to go to Liverpool, and like Hader touched on it with Manchester United, that we don't have much cash. Liverpool, because they're building a new stadium or redeveloping Anfield, they don't have a lot of cash, and their wages as well has almost increased by 90% in the last few years, so they definitely have a cash flow problem. And I think the wages around Thiago's not so much the price, because he is a bargain at 27 million. It's probably his 200 grand wages, but he is one that really, really excites me, because in that DM position that I think as a holding player alongside Bruno and Pogba, he oh my God, that just be the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Really, it would be one of the best in Europe if we could hijack that deal. I still think, personally, he wants to go to Liverpool, sadly, but if they can't drum up the money and they don't want to pay him the wages, we might be able to sneak in there and get him.
Yeah, I mean, you said a
I
few
agree.
times on the Hayder, the Werner situation, it reminds you very much of what happened with Werner. But, I mean, I'm not too worried about Liverpool because obviously Liverpool do what Liverpool do and that's their business. It's interesting you say there about the costs that they have at the moment, Mary, and that's not something I thought of. I have been scratching my head wondering why Liverpool may be struggling financially because they have had a lot of success over the last couple of years, but when you put it in perspective with the new stadium, not the new stadium, but the building that they've done on that, and the way that their wage bill's gone up, it starts to make a bit more sense why they may be struggling with this. Plus, I think it's a squad that's got a real nice atmosphere about it, and there's players in there that will be on less than Thiago that have been there a lot longer and probably more influential, and they're worried about obviously maybe the harmony in the squad if they bring in someone with that on them sort of wages. But from a United perspective, Hayder, it's hard to believe that we would ever sort of have any qualms over giving a player of Thiago's quality them sort of wages. I mean, let's be honest, we've not been shy at dishing the wages out before. Or again, is this another sign that the club's going in a different direction now and things have changed in that sense?
United's wage bill is about 300 million a year, and I've done a podcast with Kieran Maguire who outlined United's finances, and you have to remember this, that United's primary target firstly is Jadon Sancho, so rightly so United are obviously focusing on that. I don't think Thiago was ever a realistic option until obviously he decided he wants to leave, and we all know he wants Liverpool, but United have got to be careful purely because of the whole Sancho situation. They don't want to go and give huge money again. Obviously, won't be on that level of wages, but they don't want to put a lot of money towards perhaps an aging player. This is not my view, and I'll tell you my view, but this is a general, concept from a few fans that they don't want us to go and spend that much wages on a player who's 29. But let's look at United's squad. We've got the youngest first 11 in the whole Premier League. When we played Sevilla, you saw that we lacked that streetwise edge. We lacked winners in the squad, and I think what Thiago brings, I mean, he's the conductor of the best team in Europe. He completely controlled everything for that side. To not buy a player of that quality at that price, I don't really care what the wages are. When there's someone like that becomes available, you move heaven and earth, whether he's on your list or not. This is one of those transfers where it could take you from challenging for top 4 to challenging for the title. I strongly believe he's that good. Mm-hmm. United's problem over the past 7 years, midfield's always been a struggle for us. We don't have someone that can control the game or dictate the pace of the game. That's why when we play teams that obviously, other big teams, we like to play on the counter because we just can't control the midfield. Matic is a fantastic player. I love him, but he's not someone that is in the Michael Carrick mold. And I look at Thiago in that sort of respect there. No one's going to be able to get the ball off the midfielders. And when you look at that front three, they make great runs. There's a lot of energy. There's goals there. It's actually mouthwatering to think about it. I honestly think United are definitely in the running. Liverpool can't afford him. Liverpool, they couldn't afford Werner. So how are they going to afford this? It all hinges for me on Junior Wijnaldum. I know Barcelona are interested, but Barcelona are skint as well. They can't pay 18 million. So United have got to be really clever here. Look, you could potentially have a window of Van der Beek, phenomenal signing, great price. Thiago at 30 million, doesn't matter what the wages are. Perhaps he can come to an arrangement, put in clauses or installments, if United reach certain point in the Champions League or if they win it. That's what United have got to be clever about. But if you can bring in Reguilon, Thiago, Van der Beek, a centre-back, I'd love Upamecano, and Sancho, that's probably one of the best windows we ever had. United need to react now. That's the most important thing. There's quality out there, and United can go relatively unchallenged for that quality. So they've got to be smart. There's players out there at reasonable prices that you can buy. Whether his wages are a lot or not is whatever. I'm not really too bothered about that. But securing a player like that, and I think if you sell the project to Thiago, he will definitely consider United. But look, it's on our hands really. I think Liverpool can't afford him, so I don't know. We'll see. And
the other curveball, I suppose, in the last 48 hours is the fact that he could return back to Barcelona still yet as well. I think Barcelona are trying to convince Koeman that he's a better signing than Wijnaldum. Why Koeman needs convincing of that, I'm not quite sure. For me, it's a no-brainer, but obviously Koeman's probably a bit biased because obviously he's worked with Wijnaldum before, so obviously he knows a lot about the player. But Mark Biggs makes an interesting comment here. We've gotten rid of Sanchez, who was upwards of 400k a week. Buying someone like Thiago is world class. I mean, there's no doubt that the wage budget should be there to be able to do this deal, because, like you say, we have cleared a lot off the wage budget this summer, and we probably will continue to. Reese, I've not had a chance to chat to you about Thiago, but
I've been waiting. I love this man.
I mean, I will let you have your say on whether you think Thiago would be a good signing, but what I also want to know is do you think that actually over the past week, over the past few days, when United have heard that they could sign someone like Reguilon or Tevez for Tellez for definitely not Tevez. We're not going back there. Tellez for 30 million euros. Do you think that actually that what they thought is, well, we've got a midfielder in this summer. Our midfield's looking pretty strong. We're actually better investing that 30 million in a different area of the squad that needs improving.
Yeah, and that's actually a very good point, mate. When you think about that, is in terms of we signed Van de Beek, who was Ajax's captain last year. Phenomenal captain as well. I mean, Ajax getting to the Champions League semi-finals like the season before, to now getting, obviously they didn't get as far as this time, but they still had a very exciting team. And obviously he led them to near the title before the COVID situation happened. He isn't a one-off signing. This is a very good signing. And to then consider, actually, hold on, are United going to invest more in the midfield? Highly unlikely, but should we? 100%. I think signing one midfielder isn't enough. But if you're going to look at midfielders like across the world, like for that amount of money, is there anybody better? Absolutely not. In terms of worldwide, I watch a lot of European football, and I still say the best midfielder in Europe is for his position is Toni Kroos. He's another player I was gutted we did not sign. We could have had him. But we bailed out at the last minute. I was like, damn you.
Thank you, David Moyes.
That wonderful summer of 2013.
But exactly, and look what he's won for Real Madrid under a fantastic manager. And this is the point that United need to consider is Ollie's a good manager, but to be an even better manager, it's not about the signings he makes, but it's who he trusts as well. And he trusts these young signings. And that's a good thing, especially if he's taken on the mould of going with mixing youth with experience. But he needs to be careful because you can't have too much young players in a team with little experience. And you bring back to Sevilla. Sevilla were knackered. Sevilla were absolutely exhausted, and we couldn't beat them. And there was no experience at all. And they had in their midfield Ever Banega, who's still a fantastic midfielder. I think he's 30 years old. You had Jesus Navas being converted back. And I'm like, that's what you need. You need that sort of experience mixed in with young players who are going to be the focal point of your team. Reguilon, great option. I would bring him in. I would still bring him in, and I would 100% get with Meccano. But if you ask me right now, who would I take? Reguilon for 30 million or Thiago for 30 million? I would be like, Reguilon, you can sit there and wait. I'm going straight to Bayern. I'm taking Thiago. Cheers. I don't care how much you get paid.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough, mate. And I think, you've answered my question perfectly there. It doesn't matter if they feel like they need to strengthen another area team. If a player is available on the market that good for that price, you surely have to do it while you can. And we spoke a couple of times on this show, aren't we, Hader, about there's a lot of players this summer, it seems, where United have to do it now, or if they don't do it now.
Completely. Now or never. That's Upamecano and Sancho.
I just want to say, guys, there's loads of people getting in touch tonight saying hello and hi and simple things like that. Too many from on the screen. So a big hi from all of us. We're glad you're watching. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you are still watching, do give it a like. Hit that subscribe button. We are getting close to 1K. And talking of players that have to happen this summer or may never happen at all, another week down, another transfer showdown, and we still don't seem to be any closer on signing Jadon Sancho. But people will, in social media, have you believe that there are sort of little murmurs and little bits of movement on this
I
one.
genuinely think we are close. I'm
loving your positivity.
Yeah, the one thing I like about this deal is the fact that it has gone completely silent. The fact that United have went silent, Dortmund have went silent. It doesn't always mean the deal's off. But the good thing, obviously, there's fans that are going to express frustration, and you've got to understand why fans would be frustrated, because this is not just any player. Yes, he's England's starting right winger, but he's also one of the top 5 young talents in world football, if not one of the top 5 talents in football in general. Like, his position, he's so versatile, and you cannot lose a player like this. If we don't sign him, I'm going to see him at the Bernabeu next year. Like, I guarantee he'll be at Real Madrid next summer.
Yeah, that's the thing, and we've talked about it a lot, haven't we, guys? You know, the next summer, when he's had another great season for Dortmund, which he undoubtedly will, it's just going to bring so many people to the negotiating table. But just to bring it back onto topic, Hader, I'm going to come to you on this. You know, a lot of people are saying, and I believe myself, that this is becoming a bit of a crucial week now with this deal. And sooner or later, United are going to have to show their hand with a bid. And I can only tell you, when United do make a bid for his player, if they do make a bid, it better be a good one. Because if they've waited all this time to bid 60 million euros and 20 million on add-ons, I'm just going to be raging, I think, mate. I'm not going to be happy at all. But the reason that I think it's crucial, I don't know if you agree, is that German teams historically, and especially Dortmund, don't like to do business late in windows, okay? So they like to have their squad settled, ready for when the season starts. So if we don't hear anything until maybe the transfer show next Monday, I'm going to start having some serious doubts on this deal. Do you agree?
Look, it's a tough one because there's conflicting reports. Joe, you know, we've spoken to German journalists. I've obviously spoken to some British journalists on my own podcast. And look, there's definitely conflicting reports. The general consensus from, I think, the British media, or you could probably say that Fabrizio Romano's in that category as well, is that, look, talks are ongoing. And as we said, that's the important thing. What we have seen is that United have conducted their business in a much more quiet manner. Usually all summer you're linked to every single player on the planet, but I think this year what you've seen is United have been a lot more secretive. Apart from that one brief where they were saying that the deal isn't close, there's obviously talks going on. The issue remains, and look, it's conflicting reports again around the agent's fees and whether you want to believe that or not. That's what I've been told. Or there's other people saying the agent fees aren't a problem, it's the structure of the deal and the installments. United, I don't think that, look, incompetent, let's be honest. Edgar is incompetent. The Glazers, incompetent when it comes to finding players. But I think what you see is that United are not going to be stupid enough to go in and, after all this time, knowing exactly what Dortmund want, and go, all right, here's 60 million. Look, I'll be honest with you, I was very confident. You know this, Joe. We've discussed this a lot. But as time has gone on, I've been thinking, I'm not too sure. If we come to Monday and it's probably not done, which I don't think is going to be done, I will start getting a little bit twitchy. But United have to sign him. It's like we said earlier. It's a now or never signing. Two players, him and Upamecano. Now or never. Two excellent players right now. Best at their age group right now. In 5 years, they'll be the best in their positions. Relatively unchallenged as well. United have to put their money where their mouth is. And the problem is there are money problems involved. If United go and splash on Sancho now, they might not be able to afford any other signings until they get money coming in. But what I will say, though, is that United have to buy him. Like, to save face, they have to buy him because otherwise it damages our reputation. But look, like you said last summer, next summer, you're going to have Barcelona. There are reports that Barcelona wanted him to replace Messi. That's how highly rated he is. So, look, I can't honestly tell you whether it's going to happen or not. I wish I had Reese's positivity. I usually do, but I'm starting to doubt things a little bit. But hopefully, United will surprise us and we'll see Jadon Sancho in that, number 7 shirt, which is what he's born to be in.
I would hate to see this one fall through. I would hate to see it fall through.
We're all waiting for that. We're all waiting for it. I really want it. Mary, I'm going to come to you. I need you to help me out on something. Someone in the comments just said that they're 40% confident that United will sign Sancho. Now, is that even confidence at all? If it's below 50, I'm not quite sure.
No.
They're not in the
Definitely not.
That's an interesting comment. But I think from that we can gather that they're probably not so positive. But what I want to talk to you about, Mary, is because I know, obviously, again, like I've said before, on your channel, you cover a lot of transfer news. There has been some talk this week that, United may even sort of be brave enough to try and put some sort of stopgap deal in place where it's almost all done, ready for next season, if so to speak. So you could argue probably Sané did that with Bayern Munich. Obviously, he wanted to go the summer before, but he got injured and then obviously he got put off. I remember United had an agreement with Van Nistelrooy, didn't they, the season before they signed him, but he had a knee injury and then that deal had to be put off till the following summer. But, I mean, there's plenty of people had gentleman's agreement, even in more recent times. I mean, Sanchez gave his word to Manchester City, apparently, didn't he, verbally, and Jorginho the same. I mean, United are taking a bit of a risk if they think that they can just have some sort of verbal agreement in place with Sancho and that will stick when it comes to next summer if he gets a chance to go to a bigger club or a club that he would rather play for.
I really wouldn't like this if it was going to happen, because I mean, like you said, plenty of other players have had verbal agreements. Roy Keane had a verbal agreement with Blackburn, and Fergie rang him, and that verbal agreement was gone down the drain. And you know, anything can happen in a year. Ollie could get sacked, and United could finish 10th. You know, and then we wouldn't have Champions League football, or you know, we could have another lockdown, and then there's definitely no money, and the fans won't be back in the stadium. Like Hader said, it's now or never. We do have a free run at him. I could see even PSG, even Chelsea, even City coming in, like our domestic rivals, even Liverpool, because Klopp is a massive fan of him. So I could see our domestic rivals, not even our European rivals, come in next season for Sancho. It's do or die for me. If I'm about 70% confident, it changes every day, but we have to get this done. We've given too much time over the summer for it not to be done. We know Matt Judge and Ed Woodward are absolutely inept, but look, I don't even think they are that inept. We know what Dortmund want. We know that the player wants to come, pay the money and get it done. So I am confident it will be done, but no to the gentleman's agreement, because anything could happen in 12 months in football.
Yeah.
Totally.
Van de Beek as well. He had an agreement with Real Madrid. That's another big one. He had an agreement in January to join them in the summer.
Yeah, there's loads going on all around Europe, and I just want to, Mark's put here, there is no bigger club. Apologies, Mark. I probably used the wrong terminology. What I would say is there's probably more appealing clubs out there
currently in the situation.
Clubs that could probably give him the opportunity to win titles and Champions and European Cups instantaneously, unless you're Mary, who of course on our brilliant Wall of Red show on Sunday suggested we could win the Champions League. So if he wants to win the Champions League, maybe he is best coming here.
Come to United.
After
the
all,
one thing that is good about Sancho is just a quick point for me. The one good thing about Sancho is the way we are right now. We haven't won a trophy in 3 years, which has been an unfortunate circumstance. The longest we've went in a long time is 3 years, and that was difficult. But you look at that and think, if you give that to Sancho, we haven't won a trophy in 3 years, but think how good it would be if you're the one that comes in and you lead us to the FA Cup, you lead us to the Premier League, or you lead us to the Champions League. You are the reason we win it. That would be like alarm bells inside. I'd be like, actually, you know what? This club wants me because they know they can achieve success. This manager wants me, and he knows we can win something. Go on. You wouldn't really deny that if that was given to you on a silver platter. Like, this is a direct offer, and it's appealing to you. It'd be so difficult to turn down, because there's not many players that would turn down Man United, Real Madrid, Barcelona. If you turn them down, you would be extremely naive.
Yeah. An interesting comment that's coming here from Ben, all for United. I'm guessing it's Ben who's put this in here. You know, it doesn't make sense for someone with that sort of world-class sort of talent to be nabbed by a rival club when it's probably only £30 million that we're looking at here. You know, there's 30 million that we may have to pay for Thiago. There's 30 million that we may have to pay for Reguilon at Hader. You don't want to miss out on a player because your valuation's that sort of gap, if you know what I mean. If it's
not
that's all it is. I mean, there was talk last year, obviously, that, you know, for example, when Arsenal first wanted Pepe, they were willing to pay 20 million and they wanted 70 million. I mean, if the gap's that big, then don't even bother negotiating. But obviously, those guys sorted it out. But for 30 million for someone world class like that, there should be no qualms, really, should there?
Are you talking about Sancho?
Yeah. Sorry,
yeah. No, look. At the end of the day, think about the long-term sort of impact, I suppose, of Sancho. He could potentially be your right winger for 10 years to come. Look, you amortize transfer values anywhere. I think that's what people need to understand. That what clubs do is that when they buy a player, they usually spread it over the contract, but it depends how they're going to do it. If you look at, let's say, Napoli, what they do is they pay a lot more up front. They amortize more of the transfer fee in the first few years, so that when they sell the player later on, even if he hasn't done well, they'll make a plus Valencia, they'll make money on it. So that's the thing that people have to remember, is that United will amortize Sancho's value over the contract. So it's not going to be, you know, such a big outlay. It's going to be spread over the 5 years. Obviously, the way they pay installments wise, that's another story, whether it's in 3 installments. But United have to understand that they're potentially signing the player that's going to be has Ballon d'Or potential. That's how good he is. I know some people don't rate him. I don't see how you cannot rate him. 20 goals, 20 assists at the age of 21. Last season, third in the Bundesliga goal scoring records behind Werner and Lewandowski, both are strikers. If people are doubting him and saying it's too much money, this is a 21-year-old player with such great decision making that you don't see in many young players. I think you look at Mason Greenwood, he's another one with very good decision making. When you look around at Europe, and you look at the younger players that we do get linked to, while they have potential, the biggest worry is, can they hit the ground running? Can they affect games? Do they have the decision making? Sancho is special. He's generational. United just need to pay the money, get him in. Yeah. And you look at that front three and you've got to think, look at the age profile, the potential. I mean, look, honestly, I'm being honest with you. Looking at the way that the front three are playing right now, Rashford's probably the one that misses out. And it's sad to say because I'm a big fan of him. But you have options. When, if Rashford doesn't play, you have Sancho, and then you can bring Rashford off the bench. That's the point. That gap in quality between Rashford and James is huge. So United got to pay the money. It doesn't matter what it is. Just pay it, get him in. And he will just completely get Old Trafford on their feet, and he'll be an incredible player for us.
Ben, I think someone said here that maybe I've misunderstood your comment and you were talking more about Upamecano. If I did, mate, I apologise for that, but we've had a good discussion there on Sancho. I think any player really, if when it's Manchester United, if you've got a chance to sign a world-class player, if your valuation's that short, and the idea of him going to another club next season and being such a success there just seems such a shame if you've got the money and you can get the deal done. Mary, I'm going to give the final word to you, because one thing I just do want to ask quickly is, it was mentioned the other day that Gareth Bale, obviously we all know that he's maybe on his way out of Real Madrid. Some people suggesting that he could be allowed to go for a fee of 22 million, but my sort of point is if there's, obviously I asked you earlier about this stopgap deal with Sancho and this idea of putting it off the next season. Do you think it would make sense for United to maybe go to Real and say, look, could we have Bale for one season, a little bit like we did with Ighalo, see what he can do in that season, and then obviously look at this Sancho deal again next summer? Or are you not sold on the whole Bale to United thing, as that ship sailed a long time ago?
I'm in two minds, because maybe I'm thinking about the Gareth Bale of a couple of years ago. Look, is he interested in playing football right now? He's 31 and his injury record has been, and certainly in the last few years, he's massively out of favour. His wages are enormous. He's on over 500 grand a week. But then he scored 105 goals and over 60 assists in 250 games for Real, and he's a right winger. If it was a loan, with maybe like Real pay most of his wages like we did with Sanchez with Inter for a season, maybe if his attitude was, if he really, really wanted to, I suppose, resurrect his career. But, I don't know. Is it another Sanchez then again? Yeah. I'm in two minds. If it was nobody, or Gareth Bale and maybe a loan with Real to pay most of his wages, I might take him. I certainly probably would think about it if it was Gareth Bale or David Brooks, because I think the quality between the two players is massive. But I don't even think we should be looking at this even on loan. It should be Sancho or bust, really.
Okay, yeah, no worries. And Ben's just confirmed that he was talking about Upamecano. I apologise for that, Ben. I'm sure we'll get to talk about Upamecano.
Pay the fee, Joe. Pay the fee for Upamecano. That's what I think. Just pay it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And someone made a good point here. Are there any good golf courses around Manchester? Well, we'll definitely have to do some research on that. Maybe that's what's holding up.
He can play in Scotland.
Plenty of good golf courses up there. But guys, unfortunately, that is all we have got time for today. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I do want to say a massive thank you, Mary. It's been great having you on. Keep up the good work on your channel, and I hope that you'll be back on with us again soon.
Definitely. Thanks so much, Joe.
No, thanks so much for coming on. Hayder, as always, mate, brilliant work. Great to work with you, mate. I hope you've had a good one.
Cheers, mate. Been a great show. Two great guests as well, so enjoyed it.
Yeah, really. First time I've worked with Mary and Reese today. You've been brilliant. Look forward to having you on in the future. Reese, thanks for coming on, mate.
My pleasure.
Hope you've been on the show.
Oh, it was fantastic. Thank you. It was a real pleasure.
Guys. And thanks for everyone watching out there. If you've enjoyed the video, do give it a like. Give the channel a subscribe. There's going to be so many good things coming on this channel in the next, well, with the season starting, there's going to be some new shows, all sorts going on. I've got, in terms of looking at the players based in Germany at the moment, we've got a transfer Q&A with journalists that are in the know in Germany. We've got a transfer Q&A with journalists in the know in Spain. They're all coming up this week on this channel, so do keep your eye out for all this brilliant content. And we'll be back on Friday for the next All for United transfer show. Thanks again, guys, for joining us, and thanks to you guys for coming on the show.